I'm Emily Jiang. I work for IBM. I work in the Hursley lab in the UK. It's a very pretty lab and a very unique location.
And so you also work on microprofiles?
Yes.
So what are microprofiles? I mean, is it like just a brand? Is it a real thing? What is it?
Yeah, Microprofile is define the programming model for developing Java-based microservices. So basically, it gives you power and tools and the programming model to design the best breed microservices.
Cool. And so is it brand new? How old is it?
Yeah, it's over a year old. Actually, the first announced is in the June 2016. And then in Java 1 2016, we released the first version. And last year in Java 1, we released the Microprofile 1.2. And then earlier this year, we released the Microprofile 1.3.
Okay, so anybody using it? I mean, in production or?
Yeah, it's, at the moment, we are trying to gather the real use case because it's still pretty new programming model, and a lot of customers are really interested in it. So it's because it's purely open source, so people is I talked to somebody in the Cumulus EE. They said they have customers especially want to use Microprofile for tolerance, so they implemented. So we are trying to find out the real use case and who is using the programming model. But I know some customers even went ahead to implement the specification purely for their real use case.
So usually microprofiles have like a specific APIs in it. So how many microprofiles do you have, and I mean, what's the technology behind in the profile?
Right, Microprofile actually is kind of a collection of it's a open community. I will say is for the members, Microprofile members, to come together to define the specifications. For example, Microprofile config, Microprofile for tolerance, GWT metrics, health check. You name it. Also is recently we have Open API and REST client and also Open Tracing. These all inside the Microprofile. Again, the Microprofile is an open community, so we evolve some programming models for doing the microservices.
Okay. So how many are there, or is there anything that people can download basically?
Oh yeah. These are all open source. It's under the under Eclipse. So if you search Microprofile-config that repository, you can see everything about the Microprofile config. If you log on to microprofile.io website, you can see all the repositories. So one thing I really want to bring people's attention is about Microprofile Service Mesh. That's a new project. New a specification or new repository I recently created. So for the people who are interested in Istio, also in Microprofile, we're trying to define the best breed ecosystem between the Microprofile programming model and Istio.